Hi, hello, and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Alumni Speaker Series. I'm Carrie Williams. I'm the Associate Director of Alumni Events in the Alumni Engagement Department at York University, and would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you in the audience today. It's always such a great pleasure to bring so many of our students and alumni and friends together at one of our many online experiences. Today's webinar celebrates York University's accomplished alumni and is part of our highly successful Entrepreneurial Alumni Speaker Series, which is actually a partnership between Innovation York and Alumni Engagement. It's truly an honor to welcome many of our fantastic York U alumni to our virtual experiences, including today's speaker, Abtin Masataraga, founder and CEO of Northern MO, a Toronto-based digital media and social media advertising company. Before we begin, I do want to let you know that York University and other GTA post-secondary institutions have made the difficult decision to not hold in-person fall convocation ceremonies due to the ongoing public health concerns resulting from COVID-19. Details about York's virtual convocation will follow in September, and we look forward to hosting all graduates affected by the situation at an in-person ceremony once it is once again safe to do so. As well, you may have heard the exciting news that York is moving forward with our long-awaited Markham Centre campus. We will welcome our first students in the fall of 2023. For more information and renderings of what the new campus will look like, please visit markhamcentrecampus.yorku.ca. Although we aren't all in the same location, we recognize many Indigenous nations have longstanding relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Toronto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably care and share for the Great Lakes region. Now we'd like to get to know a bit about you in the audience. We know some of you are joining us from Facebook, some of you are right here on Zoom. You'll notice a Q&A button in the bottom of your screen. Please type in either the region, town, or city where you are located, and I'll just give everybody a moment to respond. Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, everybody's from the GTA today, it looks like. From Markham, Vaughan, Toronto, Mississauga, welcome to all of you. It's great to have everybody, and even though we all can't get together in person, it's great that we're still finding ways to connect. So thank you for sharing that. In today's presentation, it's the last in our at-home summer series. You will hear from a digital marketing consultant who founded his own agency and the lessons he learned on the way to becoming a successful entrepreneur. Through this at-home speaker series, we are also so pleased to highlight the outstanding entrepreneurial alumni who studied at York and to give them the opportunity to share their journey and insight with you. You will also have an opportunity to ask questions following the presentation. Just use that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We hope their stories will inspire the next generation of entrepreneurial changemakers to embark on their own journey. Now, I'd like to please welcome Diana Sanwasain. She's the Marketing and Events Coordinator for Innovation York, who will introduce today's inspiring presenter. Over to you, Diana.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us today in our Zoom audience, as well as those on Facebook Live. I am so excited to be here for the final event in the summer edition of the Entrepreneurial Alumni Speaker Series at Home, hosted by LaunchU and Alumni Engagement. So far in the series, we welcome two of York's top alumni entrepreneurs. Richard Reiner, who told his story of serial entrepreneurship in the tech world, which included a few failed businesses before he found its success, and Jennifer Huggins, who shared her story of how she turned her biggest weakness into her superpower. She is such a great example of an entrepreneur who didn't let life's challenges hold her back. We've asked our speakers in the series to be as real as possible in sharing their story. These stories are meant to give insight into the different ways that they've made it through their own storms to build their empires. We hope that their talks have inspired you in some ways in your own life. Now, before I introduce our speaker for today, we'd like to know a little bit more about our audience members. I know most of you are located in the GTA, but I'd like to find out a little bit more about whether you're working on your own venture. So you'll see a poll question appear on your screen. Are you actively working on a venture, or do you have a business idea that you'd like to pursue? So I'll give everyone a moment to respond. And I see the responses coming in now. Perfect. So if we can just share the results. So I see that 63% of the audience members are in fact working on a venture or have a business idea that you'd like to pursue. So that is really great that we have so many entrepreneurs in our audience today. So just like our in-person events, we'd like to encourage your engagement. So the first half of today's event will be focused on our speakers sharing their story, and the other half will center on your participation. Today, we have selected a few audience members who will be participating in our entrepreneurs panel. These individuals will have the opportunity to join our speaker on screen and ask their own question. We'll also give you all the opportunity to ask your own questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to type in your question at any time, and you may also use this button if you're experiencing any technical issues. Now, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Aptin Masaratika. Aptin is a digital marketing consultant and the founder of Toronto-based digital marketing firm, Northern MO. With over a decade of industry experience, Aptin has been featured in Forbes, Huffington Post, Inc.com, and Entrepreneur magazine. Aptin and his firm have sold over 100 million worth of products online and have also grown to over 30 million followers for himself and their clients. Aptin also graduated from York University with a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology in 2017. Aptin, we are so happy to welcome you here today and really can't wait to hear about your story.
Thanks for having me. Let me just get this ready, share screen. Okay, so hey guys, what's up? My name's Aptin. I'm 25 years old, turning 26 years old this year. And I've been kind of running my business since I was about 13. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a background on kind of where we are now, and then we're going to rewind and go through the story of kind of how it all really came to be. So again, my name is Aptin Masaratika. I'm the founder and CEO of Northern Mo, a marketing company that's based here in Toronto. We've got 2 people who work here with us, 2 people out in South Carolina, and 1 person who is out in Portugal. So a little bit about our company. We specialize primarily in email marketing, social media marketing, websites, and apps for all of our clients, essentially. We've worked with literally everything you can kind of think of, from online blogs to e-commerce, iOS apps, Android apps, optimizing the user experience and interface of websites and apps, as well as like photographers, videographers, and much more. We were able to do well over $100 million in sales for our clients in the past decade, which we'll get into and explain kind of how. And we've also been able to grow 30 million followers for our clients, as well as our own pages through the past decade. Again, we've been featured on quite a couple of places for kind of the marketing theories that we've kind of put together and strategies we've made because of how unique they are and how well they've kind of worked for our clients. So I'm going to show off just like 2 clients that we're really proud of that we get to work with. So one is Self Care Station. This is a really great brand that spreads a lot of information about mental health awareness, and they came around a couple of years ago. We started working with them about a year and a half ago. They've gained about 500,000 followers since they've started working with us. We've helped them 20x their sales, and they're making about a 3.4 time return on their ad spend. So for every dollar they spend, they make about $3.40 back. The next company I'd like to tell you guys about really briefly is Ivorella. This is a company that I've worked with from the very start. They've helped raise over $2 million that's been donated to saving the elephants out in Africa through charities. and their entire clothing brand primarily dedicated around this cute little elephant logo. We helped them gain about 1.3 million followers on Instagram, 400,000 followers on Twitter, and we're managing about $5,000 a day in ad spend for them. And the timeline took them about 2 years to really grow to where they are at now. So kind of everything that we've really done, like we're in love with it, and the entire team is so proud of everything we've done and what we've grown, including the 33 million streams that we've actually done for a lot of different EDM artists, as well as like some other famous artists like Chainsmokers, Nicky Romero, and some other people. So this is all really great, but like I want to tell you guys the story of kind of how it all really came to be and kind of how I really got my start, because I actually never went and studied marketing or anything like that. I kind of just fell into this world and started to like learn a lot of things and just test a bunch of things. So there's about 4 phases in my life that I'm going to walk you guys kind of through. And the first phase was in elementary school. The whole reason I even got into making money on the internet and trying to venture into this type of business was because all my friends had an allowance and I didn't really have anything. And I was tired of being that guy who sat at the end of the table in elementary school saying, hey, can I have some of your fries? So I went to the only place that would pay a 12-year-old money, and that was YouTube at the time. So started off on YouTube, and what I was doing on YouTube was just showing people how to jailbreak their iPhones, which is essentially showing people how to make these like cool little edits on iPhones that you can't do typically. And it's almost like hacking your phone just to get cool little features to maybe speed up your phone and change the way certain icons look. So started my own YouTube channel. I was making videos on this kind of stuff. I managed to gain about 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000 followers at the time. And I was making about $300 or $400 at the age of 12 off of just Google AdSense by uploading these videos talking about iPhones, iPod Touches, new apps, and like these kinds of things. So this was all really great. And what ended up happening was I slowly continued to do it all through the 8th grade, and I graduated and I went to high school. When I got to high school, something actually really incredible happened. I got to high school and my friends and other people that went to my high school saw my phone and they're like, hey, how'd you do that on your phone? And I was like, hey, I know how to jailbreak an iPhone, and like I can do it to your phone if you want. And they're like, sure, I'd love that. Like, what would you charge me for that? And at the time I was like, wow, I can charge people for this? So I ended up jailbreaking a lot of people's iPhones for them in school, and I ended up making about $5,000 in cash. And at the same time, I was running my YouTube channel. So what ends up happening with my YouTube channel is this is when Beats by Dre is slowly starting to send all of these YouTubers, all of these athletes, all of these musicians their headphones to promote. And they actually reached out to me and gave me 5 pairs of headphones to do a giveaway of on my YouTube channel. So now at the time I come home, I have about $5,000 in cash. I have a couple of Beats by Dre headphones, and my parents actually ground me because they thought that I was just up to no good and just like doing something that wasn't like legal or legit. As time kind of went on and I was just grounded at home working away, continuing to work on the computer, making more YouTube videos and venturing through the internet, I was like, what else can I do on the internet to make money? If I can make money on YouTube, there's got to be other places on the internet I can make money. This was before the whole internet culture really came to light, where everyone's like, we can start a business online. So when I was in the 9th grade, Twitter had actually just came out. So I'd start playing around with Twitter, trying to mess with the algorithm, trying to see if I could grow some things. So I used to write poetry like way back in the day, and I was one of those original people on these like Twitter accounts and like Instagram accounts that were posting those really like kind of sappy quotes and whatnot. So what ended up happening was I found a way to share some of my quotes, my poems and stuff, and I ended up gaining a lot of followers decently quickly. I was able to grow anywhere from 50,000 to 100,000 followers every 2 to 3 months on these accounts. And what ended up happening was I had people reach out to me saying, hey, we'd like to buy your account. We'd like to work with your account. And I was like, me being in the 9th grade, I was like, oh, wow, somebody wants to pay me for this thing that I'm working on. And I was like, of course. So what I ended up doing was I ended up building more and more accounts with different themes and different niches and whatnot. So all through kind of the 9th and 10th grade, I was just working on building this really big network that got to work with different advertisers and whatnot. While I was in the 10th and the 11th grade, I started to study the types of ads that people would send me. So people would send me ads and say, hey, just post this, we'll pay you X amount to do it. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. Certain advertisers would buy certain ad sets multiple times. So that would mean they'd be sending me the exact same text, so the copy, and the exact same photo or video, so the creative, that I'd post over and over again, versus another one that they'd only send me once. So I kind of got the idea of, okay, this is what good copywriting looks like, this is what good creative looks like, versus this is what doesn't work. So as time had gone on, while I was in the 10th grade, I started to teach myself Photoshop and video editing, again, just through YouTube. And I started to get pretty good at it. So by the time I got to the 11th and 12th grade, near the end of the 11th grade and in my 12th grade year, people had continued to send me these ads, and I would reach it back out to them and say, hey, before I run this, would you mind if I make some suggestions for you? So I'd make some suggestions and we'd split test kind of like what I believe would work for their creative versus what they believe would work. And because they didn't have to go back and forth with a graphic designer, because I knew Photoshop and I knew video editing at the time, I'd make the small adjustments that I needed based on creative they had sent me. And once I made those adjustments, I'd be like, hey, let's run this if you're okay with it. And they were always cool with it. So we'd end up running those two things and split testing it. The majority of the time, based on what I learned and what I saw was working well over the past 3 years, my methods would always end up working. So by the end of the 12th grade, I kind of got into consulting. And these people weren't just sending me posts to post anymore. They wanted me to promote the post as well as create the campaigns and manage their campaigns. Little did anybody know I was actually in high school because I just had a picture of a wolf as my icon, which was like always the running joke now. But basically what happened was a lot of people tried to hire me full time. I had to decline because I was still in high school. I actually had to push my meetings off until almost like 4 p.m. every single day and say, hey, I just had a really busy day. I can't have a meeting with you till realistically after I got home from high school. But I would just play it off as like, I have a very busy day and I have a ton of meetings all the way till 4 p.m. before I can hop on a call with them. So kind of as things had gone on, I had graduated high school and I had gone on to university. So kind of got to university, I decided that I wanted to become a dentist. And I was like, let's start by doing a Bachelor of Science for my undergrad at York. So I came to York and I started studying kinesiology to do my Bachelor of Science. At the time, all of the stuff that I was doing online was always meant to be just kind of like a side hustle and a side business. But as time had gone on, it became more and more lucrative and also became more and more time consuming. So when I was in university in first year, I had decided I can't do this by myself. I can't manage borderline a 2-hour commute, all of these courses with my labs and Peakins on top of it. If you're a King student, you'll know what I'm saying, as well as running this business full time. So what I ended up doing was I told my sister to quit her job at Forever 21 to come work with me. I had hired one of my friends who went to Waterloo, and I actually had hired one of my other really good friends who I had met in my chemistry lab. So the four of us began working on managing all of the pages, where they would manage the pages for the most part, and I'd focus on the actual campaign work and the creative and whatnot. So as university had kind of gone on, we continued to grow and grow and grow. And it only got more and more busy, more and more lucrative. We managed to make some really, really amazing connections, because when people reached out to me, I wouldn't treat them as like a dollar, where I'd be like, yeah, send me the money, I'll make the post, that's it. I'd actually try to get to know the person that is working at those companies, the CEOs of small companies and whatnot, and actually managed to make a lot of really good friends. And basically all my life, we've just been word of mouth. We've never had to promote our business at any point. It has all just been really good referral after really good referral for the last decade. So what ends up happening is we continue through university. I end up graduating university and finishing my Bachelor of Science. And I'm at this point debating about going to dental school, or if I want to attempt to maybe go to med school or do something else with my life. I kind of sit down with my parents and I give them a little talk. My dad always kind of had a feeling that, hey, he's been running this business for so long. He's clearly very passionate about it. He's clearly really good at it. After we landed our features on Forbes, having posts in a couple of other places, and becoming very well recognized for it. So I had decided that I wanted to continue running my business entirely full time. So what happens after university is I graduate, I let the whole team know that, hey, if you guys also want to keep doing this business, because they were all also in university studying their own things and had their own dreams. I was like, if you want to continue working with me, you're totally welcome to do it and we can do it. So they all said they were interested in doing it, and it's kind of what we've been focusing on after that. So life after graduation, something extremely bad happened to us. We had primarily focused our entire source of income for the business based around our 15 million followers that we had for ourselves. The other 15 million that we grew was actually for our clients. So we had 15 million followers in our own little network across Twitter, Instagram, and a couple of other places. And what ended up happening is a lot of those pages got banned, which was about 90 to 95% of the entire business's income. So at this point, the whole business is borderline, what are we going to do? How do we rebuild and how do we come back from this? So we take some time, and the entire time while I was in university, I was also learning other skills. So I was learning other skills on the paid side, where it wasn't just influencers. It was a lot of Facebook ads, Instagram ads, like those things you see when you're scrolling and it says sponsored. That's the paid side of things. That's not the influencer side of things, right? So we were learning Snapchat, among a lot of other things, including photography that I ended up taking up to learn product photography. And what I did was I sat down my whole team and I said, it's time for you guys to come to the other side. Instead of just doing management things, I want you guys to learn all of these other things. We sat down and I taught them everything they needed to know about websites and how to work with UX and UI and really optimize that for e-commerce stores or any other business that exists. I ended up teaching them a lot of Photoshop and video editing. So now that we can do all of our own creative for our own brands as well as our clients. I ended up teaching them how to do actual Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff as well, so they can manage all the media buying for all of their clients. So this crash happened maybe about 2 years ago, and right after the crash, we spent about maybe a couple months just like getting everybody really up to date with everything and getting everybody really engaged with kind of what's going on. And then we began to really just pick up all of our old clients from before and offer them these other services. And because we had stuck with them for so long prior to that, majority of our clients we'd known for 5, 6, 7+ years, they were all very interested to continue working with us and try all these new services, as well as refer other people to come work with us as well. So the crash was really bad because we basically went from making high 6 figures to borderline nothing, and then having to make a full comeback for the entire agency from that point. So once we had rebuilt everything, we can kind of fast forward to now, where we're working on quite a few different things. We built a few of our own brands completely from scratch because we do this so much for other people. We decided, why don't we just do this for ourselves, and be able to kind of make some extra money on the side. So right now we're working on quite a few of our own brands. We have the actual marketing agency, which is perpetually taking on clients. We almost have a wait list at this point because we've become very popular in the past couple of years, and it's all going really, really well. The other few things that I'm kind of working on right now is I'm part of a record label here in Toronto. We managed to figure out a way to something else that we like to do on the side when we're kind of bored, and it sounds this is really funny. We just like to find ways to break algorithms. So we found a way to break Spotify's algorithm to be able to get our artists to get a lot more plays and a lot more reviews very easily, without using traditional methods, which people would pay for spots on playlists and things like that. We have our own complete different way to kind of beat things. So we really love when people bring us things that we've actually never worked with. I love beating puzzles. I love figuring things out, simply because it's just fun for me, and it's really fun for the team. So whenever people bring us new things, we'll tell them honestly, we're like, we've never worked with this before, but we'd love to give it a shot for a month. And that's something else I'm really proud of my agency for, is that we don't do any contracts. Like, none of our clients are on contract. Everybody we're working with is month to month. They can leave at any time if they're unhappy. We can leave at any time if we're unhappy, but we've never had any issues with it. Majority of agencies that exist in the world, they'll have people come to them and say, hey, we want to work with you, and they'll instantly pick them up, set up a deal. And it doesn't always work out for the client or for the agency. But whereas with us, we usually have people almost apply to work with us. So people will come to us, we'll basically do a questionnaire with them, like a 1-hour little consultancy call, and figure out exactly what's kind of going on with their business, if it's the right fit, because we're only looking to work with long-term people, whereas a lot of other agencies will just want to work with people very briefly for a month or two, kind of make some money, and then the client is not really getting too much of a benefit there. So something that we're really, really proud to have done. So that's a little bit about, like, essentially my life story and kind of how I went from just being kind of this kid who was just working on YouTube to really just stumbling upon all of this stuff, teaching myself through YouTube. Again, never took a marketing course in my life. I've bought some courses online, but that's maybe in the past year, just to kind of stay up to date with new things that are coming out. But in my eyes, almost anybody can learn anything online and really start any business online. And this is a couple of takeaways that I want to like leave you guys with based on my story here, is that I'm a very big believer in karma, and all my life I've always just tried to help people very simply. When I was younger and I was in the 10th grade, 11th grade, I always did a ton of free consulting for free. I'd help people build their campaigns for free, and it really got me on their good side. And that ended up leading them to introducing me to a lot more people, which really grew out my network. I can honestly say I'd be nothing without my team and my network right now, because I don't have to do anything. I don't have to cold call. I don't have to reach out to people. We just get emails and calls on a weekly basis from somebody saying, hey, I know somebody who could really benefit from you, or hey, I just met somebody last week and I'd love to introduce them to you and see if you can help them any type of way, which is just really just blessed to have in our lives. Some other things that I would like to have you guys kind of walk away from is that anybody can do this. Anybody can learn digital marketing. Digital marketing is, at first, it seems very intimidating because it's a whole new skill. It's not really taught anywhere at the moment, outside of kind of random online classes. Anybody can really get into it and play around with like a couple $100 and just kind of test things to see how it works, because you don't need to pay to use Facebook's ad manager for paid advertising or anything like that. You can just set it up and you can kind of do some research on how to use it. Facebook has something called the Facebook Blueprint, that you guys can take. And it's a free course that Facebook offers to give you a little bit of background on how to use paid advertising, essentially. These are kind of all the things that I would like to leave you guys with. I guess the very last thing is anybody can do this. Anybody can do any of these things. Don't be afraid to try new things. The internet is the greatest thing that's ever been created, and it's just a bottomless pit of knowledge that you can easily discover and kind of play with.
Thank you so much, Apton. That is quite a story. And the fact that you've done so much and you're still under 30 years old, that is really, really amazing. And I was really surprised at the fact that everything was self-taught. So you didn't have any formal training in marketing or advertising or any of the stuff that you're doing right now. You pretty much learned it all from YouTube videos.
Yeah, I pretty much learned it all from YouTube, or just kind of like test and trial based on what people were sending me.
That's amazing. But what I want to do right now is invite our entrepreneurs panel on screen, because I know they have tons of questions for you. So I'll invite everyone to come on screen and join us so that you can ask Apton your question. So we have Emily Campbell. She's the co-founder of Backer, an online audience management tool for content creators. And she's also an entrepreneur that's currently enrolled in our Launch You Accelerator program. We also have Daniel Frere. He's the CEO of Prenga & Co. It's a startup that creates interchangeable cufflinks. So he's doing for cufflinks what Pandora did for charm bracelets. And he's also an alum of our Launch You Accelerator program. And last but not least, we have Zara Kassam. She's a York alumni who spent her university career empowering entrepreneurs. And she was the former co-president of EDA, an entrepreneurship club at York University, and built the social enterprise incubator Enactus. So welcome, everyone.
Cool.
Emily, you can start off by asking Apton your question.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, thanks for sharing your story. That was really sweet. And yeah, like Diana had said, like our company works with content creators. So it's really cool to hear that you kind of started this whole career as a content creator. But yeah, I guess my question is like for me, I think like content creators are some like the best marketers ever out there. You know, like they're able to like create a personal brand and really build like a super strong audience around just themselves. So my question is like, what do you think that companies, I know there's a lot of people here that are building startups or have ideas. So like, what do you think they can learn from content creators in terms of like building and marketing their company's brand? Yeah,
I mean, content creators are some of the best marketers, and we love working with them to get content to also use for a lot of the business we work with. Something I'd recommend that a lot of people could do that they could learn from actually really big brands that are doing influencer marketing a little bit of a different way. So like brands like Gymshark or Fashion Nova. A lot of people think that influencer marketing is just meant to be, I'm just going to buy one post from this influencer, and that's kind of it. But what these other brands that are doing that are completely different is they're working with these influencers very long term, because maybe I'm really connected with an influencer and I really look up to, like, let's say Nathan on Instagram or something like that. If he makes one post about something, I can kind of tell it's a bit of a paid ad. Maybe he's not even that into the brand himself. But what Gymshark and what Fashion Nova like to do with a lot of their influencers is that they like to make a very long-term deal that goes over several months. So if I see that same influencer that I'm really attached with constantly posting about a product, they probably care about that product and believe in the product way more than just, I'm just going to get paid one time to post this product and get a little bit of awareness. So if I have that connection with that influencer and they're posting a lot of that product over and over again, I'm probably going to end up converting and believing in that product as well, which has actually happened several times. So something that I believe people can take away from that group of influencers and kind of what they're doing is to try to work on like some longer term deals where they almost become a spokesperson for you rather than just like a one-time post type of thing.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It seems a lot more authentic rather than, I mean, I know I see people online that like post like 12 products a week. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm just not gonna believe you anymore. Yeah.
Cool. Definitely. And I also thank you, Emily, for asking that question. So I'm sort of seeing a central theme here in sort of building a relationship. So whether it be your clients or whether it be, you know, an influencer that you want to work with, Apton, do you think it's important to sort of maintain that relationship with the person that you want to work with long term?
Yeah, a lot of times whenever we do our marketing, we're trying to, we love working with companies that end up working with charities and stuff because they usually have the deepest emotional connections. Like a good example of that is one of the brands that we actually started completely from scratch is a company called Claws that donates back to cat shelters. Because it develops this really deep, I'm a huge cat guy, by the way, and I love donating back to cat shelters. But it helps build that really deep emotional connection to people who already connected to something very deeply. So people who have a very deep connection to cats, when we target them with our ads and they see it, they instantly get that emotional connection to the brand. And influencers is kind of like another way to go about that. Rather than the interest being cats, the interest is that person that they're following that they're so in love with. So if it is something that influences their life that well, if you can build that long-term relationship, it's at the end of the day, in my opinion, marketing isn't about just getting that initial sale or that initial, hey, look, this is who we are. It's about you're playing a really long-term game of how many times can I bring this person back to continue to support our brand and our company, which is the only way to do that is to build a very healthy and strong relationship.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Emily, thank you again for asking your question. I'm going to invite Daniel on screen now to ask your question for Apton.
Thank you. I know it's a challenge to force a video or a marketing campaign to go viral, but I've been reading and going through the exercises from Don Miller's book, Building a Brand Story, or a Story Brand, sorry. So I'm getting a better appreciation for the elements that make for a good story. How do you, or what tools, processes do you use to help pull elements from the client in creating a campaign?
Yeah, so something I really like to do is I like to study their competitors really in depth. So there's actually two tools that I really love to use that many people actually don't know even exist. And a few people that, it boggles my mind that a lot of agencies don't even know these tools exist. But two of these tools that you can really use, one of them is called, it's called Audience Insights. It's on Facebook, and you can just Google Audience Insights. This will essentially give you kind of a background on how much Facebook and Instagram actually really know about you. So when you do pull up this tool, it gives you the ability to set the region, so you can choose the United States, Canada, the whole world, any types of regions you want. You can set the age range that you're kind of going after, male, female, occupation, a lot of different things to kind of get an idea, a better idea of your audience you want to kind of go after. But the biggest part of this tool is that you can search based on interest. So depending on the keyword, you can actually get an idea of how big the interest actually is. So when I type in elephants into there and I set the age range to like 18 plus USA, it tells me that 40 million people have very high interest in elephants. And if I'm going after an audience that in my recommendation is to find something that's 5 to 10 mil plus, and you can literally build your entire probably multi-million-dollar brand off of an interest that is like that large. So if you can find something anywhere from 10 million plus, you are in a really good spot to kind of figure things out and actually tell you a lot more about them as well. So when I input that, it'll cut the list from 300 million, which is typically what is on Facebook in the US, to the 40 million that have that high interest in elephants, right? But if I continue to look at the page, it tells me a lot more. It tells me the age range, so I can see that maybe 40 or 50% of them are actually between the ages of 20 and 30. So I can start to think, okay, I should develop my product and my marketing to be more focused around that age range. It'll also tell you if they're single, in a relationship, or married, which is actually really, like, Facebook knows a lot about us that a lot of us don't know about. So you can even see maybe 70% of your audience that you're actually going after, maybe they're married. You can be like, cool, maybe I can create a product that is targeted for couples. And then you can create a whole new product out of it. So Audience Insights is a really, really powerful tool that I highly recommend everybody use. The other really powerful tool is something called page transparency. So if you go to any brand that you guys enjoy, if you pull up their Facebook page and you scroll down just a bit, you'll see something called page transparency. You can click a button next to it called See More. So if you click See More, you'll get a little pop-up. On this little pop-up, they have something at the very bottom of it called Go to Ad Library. If you click that, you'll get a whole new window on Facebook. Over here, you can see every ad that any company is running on Facebook. So if you have competitors that you want to study, you can literally see their ads in real time. You can see the copy they're using, the creative they're using, and it'll tell you month by month when the ad was launched. So obviously if an ad was launched in August, they're probably still testing. But if an ad was launched like, let's say back in January, and it's still active and being run, clearly that's working for them, right? So you can start to think, maybe I could take this and like the copy and the imagery and the creative they're using, maybe I can find a way to make this work for me, because if this is working for them, it could probably work for me if we have a similar brand. Actually, the very last tool I'd like to give a huge shout out to is a website called Unicorn Ads. So just unicornads.com. On there, you can find the top, I think there's over 10,000 stores on it, but it'll show you the top stores on Shopify in order of exactly like what they're making. It doesn't say what they're making, but it shows you them in order. Gymshark is obviously #1. They got valued at $1 billion recently. And you can click any of them and it'll take you to their ads, and you can even sort it by different niches. So you can see all, you can see maybe somebody who's only doing jewelry or somebody who's only doing like music or something like that. And you can kind of sort everything out and get a lot of really powerful information. So it's kind of like, why would you waste all your time and all your money doing all this market research when these hundreds of millions of dollars of companies have already spent that time doing it, and you can kind of just get an idea from them, especially if you're a startup and you want to kind of like save your money the best way possible.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you're thinking smarter, not harder. And if someone has already made a really good wheel that works, why not tweak it to your needs?
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Actually, the very last point to that too is if you're an avid online shopper, if you go look those ads, usually you can find a discount code too. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Thank
you again.
Tips. Thank you so much, Daniel, for asking your question. Apton, yeah, I really didn't know about all of the free tools that we have available to us. So thank you so much for mentioning that. So we have Zara as well, who I'd like to invite to ask your question for Apton.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to come in today. I was really curious about your time at York University and what else you did other than your bachelor's of science degree. Were you involved in extracurriculars? Were there other things at York that really push you towards your journey right now?
So to be totally honest, I wasn't part of too many extracurriculars. I had a lot of friends who were on like varsity teams because a lot of the varsity athletes ended up in kin.
Yeah.
So the things I really took away from being at York was just the people I met and kind of the struggle that I kind of had to go through between commuting 2 to 3 hours a day in the winter, managing a full course load, which was like, it got really difficult trying to manage calculus, like biomechanics, occupational biomechanics, and kind of all these courses all at the same time while running the business. So what I kind of got out of it was after I graduated, a lot of the people that I had met, and I'm just the guy who was just super social. I'd sit down in class, always had a pack of gum on me. I'd offer to the person next to me, make new friends. And to this day, a lot of those people, I see them starting little businesses, and I always reach out to say, hey, I'd love to give you like some advice for free if it'll help at all. And a lot of them a lot of those people who I had gone to school with, a lot of them actually aren't even like following through with doing things with kin. A lot of them, well, I mean, some of them started their own gyms and stuff, but they reach out to me for help with marketing, or they say, hey, I met somebody else who I think could use your help. And honestly, I don't think my life will ever be as hard as it ever was trying to balance those things all at once. Yeah. So I kind of like learned the maximum struggle to now kind of really enjoy my life and realize that like, hey, it could always be harder. And honestly, I learned a lot in the program. Like I don't do anything with kinesiology now, but I'm really happy that I learned everything about the human body and I made all the connections that I did. And I'm really happy to always be helping out at Schulich and a bunch of other places around York now that everybody knows I'm kind of an alumni. People reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, hey, come speak or come help in some type of way. I'm always down to give back. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just going off of students coming in, not really going towards what they end up at, do you have advice for students that are either aspiring entrepreneurs or are marketing students already to really get into that digital world that's so accessible right now?
Yeah. I mean, don't be afraid to go to university and think this is my whole life. I can't do anything past this. There's an infinite amount of people just like me who went and studied something because they had the intention of becoming a doctor or a dentist or whatever have you. And who just the entire time were learning other things on the side. Like I have a lot of friends now who reach out to me from high school and they're like, hey, I work as an accountant. I make like $80,000 a year. I like my job. I don't love my job. And they're like, my real passion is whether it be drawing or snowboarding or something else. And they want to try to create a career around it. At any point in your life, it's never too late to learn a new skill or learn something completely new and really apply it and start a business around it. So I always, especially for people who want to get into digital marketing, there is 1,000,001 tools. You don't have to pay for courses. There is so much on YouTube. If you can just search how to do Facebook ads 2020, you'll get a ton of like instructors and people who are like, this is my ad manager. This is how I made $300,000 or something like that. Do be careful of those people who are on like the ad pre-rolls that are like, this is how I made $70,000 in 2 weeks or something like that. Just watch the free videos on YouTube. You don't need to pay for any courses to begin with. And then once you start to get good, you can actually make a decent amount of money off of it. What I always tell a lot of people is if you don't have a client base or portfolio, work for free. Like offer somebody 1 month of free work. Say, hey, you offer the ad spend, I'll do the work for free for a month. If you're happy with it, we can continue at my regular rate. And you can even start solo. You can start our regular rates around like $3,000 to $5,000 per month beginning, or 10% of what we make them. So we're like performance based. But what I always tell people is, hey, start for a really cheap rate, offer for free for a month. If they're happy with it, take it to $1,000 a month. And you'll slowly start to make your way up. You'll start working with people who are in the $1,000 range, and you'll start to meet people in the $2,000 range, and you'll slowly continue to build up. I know a lot of different people who do what I do and who only work with 2 or 3 clients per month, and they're getting paid $30,000 to $40,000 per month, just to manage their ads and really scale their brands. So yeah, the internet is a bottomless pit of information that you can learn anything from.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for asking Aptin your question. And thank you all to our entrepreneurs panel for joining us today and asking Aptin your question. I'm sure the audience members really appreciated the insight that we got from those questions as well. So thank you. So we are running a little bit over time, but Aptin, I still want to take some audience questions for you as well, because I know they have been eager to ask you a few things. So the first one is, how do you know when you're ready to market a developing app? What is the right timing?
So I would probably just put out like a bit of a beta and just test it out with a little bit of money. I probably wouldn't go like all the way deep. Let's spend $10,000 to market this product just yet. I'm sure if you're developing an app, you already know how beta works, where you want to get some users in, get their feedback. And kind of as you start to go to the masses, it's also really important. We've actually released 2 of our own apps that were gaming apps similar to like Flappy Bird and whatnot. We kind of put them out there, and we just set a goal to hit 1,000 or 2,000 downloads, and then we kept it very close with that community to really figure out what they wanted and what they wanted it to be. Because at the end of the day, your brand and your app and all that kind of stuff, it is your baby, it is your idea, and you want it to be what you want it to be. But if you want it to grow and keep going to where it kind of needs to be to continue to gain traction, gain the masses, you're going to want to work with your audience as closely as possible. Something I recommend doing for that, I'm very large on building communities, so I would say even invite those people to give you feedback in another place, whether it be like a Reddit thread or something like that. Always, even like once a month, throw out something saying, hey, we're taking recommendations for new features, things you don't like, things you do like, and kind of take it from there. I'd say just slowly ramp it up, try to get a couple hundred downloads once you know the app is stable and it's working and it's not going to crash all the time on users, and you have kind of a good working area. Stay in beta up until maybe 5,000 users, I'd say, or 10,000 users, and then you can kind of come out of beta because you've learned so much in maybe the couple of months that you were getting users and getting user feedback on.
Definitely. It's all about getting that customer insight, even if you start, really small and work your way up. So totally agree with that. I'm also curious to know if you had any mentors. So you mentioned that you learned a lot of your stuff from YouTube. Did you have any mentors growing up while you were in high school and, having all those clients come to you at that time?
Yeah, so actually, interesting enough, not really. There was random YouTubers that I really liked, like MKBHD. He's like the #1 tech YouTuber on the planet right now, and he was like, I think he had like maybe 30 or 40,000 subscribers when I kind of had like 2 or 3, and I was like, this guy he's like the GOAT of like online tech. So I really like looked up to him, and I saw that he would always post that he was like learning how to do video editing and kind of like all that kind of stuff, and he does that all that stuff for himself now, and I was like, I should learn these things probably. Outside of that, honestly, not really. Shout out to all of the random people who just made random videos about this is how to do a certain thing in Photoshop, this is how to do a certain thing ad wise, and like those kinds of things. There's never like one person I really stuck to. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that you can get so specific because you don't have to worry about asking one person to make a video for you. If I have something that's super technical in Photoshop that I really don't know and want to figure out, I can just YouTube it, and there's one random guy who maybe has 40 subscribers who made a video about it. And I was like, and I was leaving a little thank you. I'm like, hey, thanks. Like, I know you don't have that many subscribers, but I really appreciate that you made this video. So you can literally find anything and everything. So I wouldn't say I had one mentor. I'd say if anything, I had thousands of mentors.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's always good to have, even if it's just a group of individuals that you look up to, even if you don't personally know them. They could be on YouTube, on the internet, or anyone who just sort of motivates you in some way.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say the other really interesting thing that I always recommend people to do is find other people in your industry. And they don't even need to be in Toronto. Like every Friday, I actually do a call with one of my really good friends who does influencer marketing out in Atlanta, and he works with Sony and a bunch of other really big record labels. And our other friend who's actually in Ireland, who does very similar to what I do, but he's more so focused in Europe. So the three of us hop on a call every Friday morning around like 10 a.m. and we're just like, hey, let's give each other an update on kind of what's going on this week. What did you learn? What did I learn? How can we help each other in some type of way? So really building a community around the things you do, and maybe even just finding like 5 people who are dedicated to it. You can learn a lot from each other and kind of keep each other updated rather than trying to learn new things just on your own.
Yeah, there's so much going on in the world also, just to keep up is so difficult. But how do you manage, this is going to be my last question for you, but how do you manage your time? Like, do you sleep? Do you,
yeah, so
going on?
Very, very regular question I get from a lot of people saying, because I'm doing so much all at the same time. I swear by 2 different apps. I swear by TimeTree, which is my calendar app that I have my entire team on, and we kind of see who's doing what when. I also swear by an app called Notion. Notion is like literally the thing that I wish I had back when I was in university, and I discovered it about 2 years ago, and I've literally got 100+ people on this app at this point. The website is notion.so. I'm not a spokesperson for it. I don't get paid for it at all. I wish they paid me. It's like Google Meets Google Docs met Squarespace, and just have this like amazing child. You can build anything out on it. You can plan anything out on it. You can have multiple people on it. I highly recommend looking it up, and I organize my entire life in there, from my personal life to my work life to all of our clients and all of the people who work with me. For me, I also try to keep like a pretty okay work-life balance. I try to, every day I wake up at 7, I work until maybe like 6 p.m. I do work weekends occasionally. I do work through the night at some points if we are really busy, but I always try to make sure that I do have time to go to the gym, hang out with my friends, and those kinds of things. I am kind of weird where I only really need 6 hours or 5 to 6 hours a night of sleep to kind of like be able to get up and go. I drink a lot of Red Bull, to be honest. But yeah, finding like a good work-life balance is really, really important, because through university, there was a lot of times where I ended up burning out, because I would go to school for 10 hours, come home and study for 2 hours, and then work for another 5 to 6 hours, and then go to gym for 2 hours. And then it was very hectic. The really good thing about having school is I kind of got my social aspect of my life with going to class. So that fit in there kind of perfectly. But now that I don't have classes anymore or anything like that, I have to make time for my social life and my family life and those kinds of things.
Yeah, it really is all about balance. So I think you're doing a pretty good job of balancing everything and all the multiple projects you have going on in your life. But I think those are all the questions I'm going to take for today, because I know we are running a little bit over time. But Aptin, I really want to thank you for sharing your story with all of us. It's so inspiring to see, everything that you've accomplished despite, your agency crumbling, and you being able to rebuild that and be such a success today. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Actually, the last thing I actually want to say is, if anybody does have any other questions or literally anything else like that, if you want, you can just send me a message on like Instagram or something like that. It's just ABTXN. I will more than happily sit down with somebody for half an hour for free and just talk to them if they are interested in digital marketing or anything else like that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I feel like all of the audience members should take advantage of that, not all at once, because Aptin will be very overwhelmed. But definitely do reach out to Aptin if you have any additional questions for him. Thank you again, Aptin.
Sure, no worries.
To our audience members, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for the final event in the summer edition of the Entrepreneurial Alumni Speaker Series at Home. During all 3 of the events that we've held this summer, we've heard stories from founders who have candidly shared their journey, which often was not a straightforward one, and was filled with failure, challenges, and many lessons. Hopefully you were all inspired by their abilities to not only conquer those difficulties, but thrive in the entrepreneurial world. I'd also like to thank Alumni Engagement for working with us to showcase the very best of entrepreneurship at York University. We hope that you are all inspired by Aptin's story and the stories that we shared from all of our previous speakers. Please be sure to follow us on social media to view the recording of today's talk, along with other events that we've held in this series. We'd also like to know if you're interested in seeing a fall edition of the series. So please do take 1 minute to complete our short survey on that. The survey link can be found in the chat box and also will be emailed to you all shortly. If you're looking to start your own journey as an entrepreneur or need help to take your venture to the next level, LaunchU, the on-campus entrepreneurship unit at York University, offers a variety of free programs, services, and events to support not only students, but external community members as well. This fall, we will be launching the Founder Fundamentals workshop series. These free 2-hour online workshops will equip you with the essential skills and knowledge needed to succeed as an entrepreneur. You can find more information on our website, launchu.ca. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you again at future events. Take care.